Hey, Kevin here, Mr. DIY Dork from DIYDork.com. And if you'd like to see how to double, triple, or even quadruple your money flipping ugly mirrors into awesome mirrors on Craigslist, then check this out. All right, so I want to start off with something they call Flipping Mirrors 101. This is just the bare bones basics of what we're going to be doing here so that you kind of know what to expect. Now, the thing with mirrors is that they're one of the easiest pieces of furniture to buy and resell. I mean, they don't take much to redo. They're not very expensive. They don't take up a lot of room, and they actually make pretty good profit for the amount of effort and time you put into them, which, by the way, is not very much at all. So the first thing you want to do is find really good mirrors for really cheap. Now, I know it's kind of a no-duh thing. That's how business works. You know, you buy low and you sell high. But the thing with mirrors is that there's a lot of really ugly dated ones out there that no one wants anymore, and they just aren't worth your time messing with. And a lot of times if you find them, they're already kind of maxed out in price. So I want to show you how to find the right mirrors for the right price. And then I want to show you how to redo them to increase desirability. Now, we're not talking about just taking, a plain mirror, trying to get it cheap, selling it somewhere else as is, and trying to make a few bucks on it. We're talking about taking that plain, ugly, cheap mirror and selling it for pretty good money by redoing it the right way. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And that way you can make a nice little profit. So first of all, let me just kind of give you the basics of buying and selling these mirrors so you kind of know what to expect to pay and about how much they're going to sell for depending on where you sell them. So let's get into that next. So let's start off by talking about buying mirrors. Now, free is always the best price unless the mirror is just absolutely totally ugly or it's broken. Free is probably going to work out really great for you. And then I know I wrote $20 to $25-ish, there, but that's like my top end. But the sweet spot really is $10 to $20. Now I know that's like ultra cheapskate area there, but you can find them there if you look in the right places. Over $25, if it's just an absolutely amazing mirror, I might do it. But I like to stay under $25 because, your profit to risk is getting kind of close there. So some of the places that I like to find them are in like dumpsters, yard sales, thrift stores, Craigslist, maybe people giving away, putting them out by the trash, or family members getting rid of stuff or whatever, pretty obvious places. But my favorites happen to be Craigslist and dumpsters. Now, the thing with dumpsters is, of course, it's going to be dirty and it's probably something's going to be broke. If the mirror glass is broke, I don't even mess with it. But like if the frame's broke and it looks like it could be repaired or I could work with it, then fine. Yard sales, usually they're pretty good prices there. They're usually in the sweet spot. But like where I live, yard sales don't go all year round, so it's not totally reliable. Then at thrift stores, you can usually get them pretty cheap. The thing is, they're almost always at my max out price. So that's like a last resort. But Craigslist is pretty awesome. You can see the pictures, you can tell how far away it is, and you can tell if it's the right price if you want to mess with it or not. So that's some great places to find them. All right, and as far as selling goes, you can expect to at least double or triple your money, or even quadruple or more, just depending on what kind of mirror it is, the styling, what you've done to it, and the size. Basically, the better it looks and the bigger it is, the more money you can make. So that's an incentive to try to find, really good looking big mirrors because you can make a lot more money off of them, and they take about the same amount of work. So it's not that, it's not that much different than like a small kind of uglier mirror. Now, I personally like to resell them back on Craigslist. I like to find them on Craigslist or find them for free and then flip them back on Craigslist. And you can expect to sell it for about $35 to $100. And like I said, it just depends on the size of it and the styling and all that kind of stuff. But they probably average about, in that $50, $60, $70 zone, which is pretty good, especially if you can get one for like maybe $10. I mean, you're talking about like a $50 profit, and it only takes maybe, a couple hours one evening to do. So that's pretty awesome. Now, if you wanted to make more money, you could go to like a design shop or a craft mall booth or, antique mall, something like that. Thing is, you're going to have to pay for rent on the booth and a percentage of the sales, but you can demand a lot more money. You could be selling them for, a couple $100 if it's a really, really great mirror. But for the most part, you can expect to maybe double, triple, or even quadruple it on Craigslist, and it's pretty fast, easy, and it's free to use. So that's what I like to do. All right, now I'd like to show you which mirrors to buy and which ones to avoid. So I thought I'd do it in a fun way. So we're gonna do something here called DIY Dork's official flip or flop mirror quiz. So check this out. All right, so let's start with mirror number one, this white wicker mirror. Is this a flip or a flop? Yeah, I think this one's a flop. I mean, the wicker is going to be really hard to work with. It's going to be really difficult to paint. You can't do a whole lot with it. But let's say this mirror was free, or you found it in a dumpster. It might be worth your time. But for the most part, I would not pay any money whatsoever for this mirror. It's just not worth it. All right, and how about mirror number 2? This kind of honey-colored arched wood mirror. What do you think of this one? Yes, this one's a flip. I would buy this one and redo it. This would sell really well. It's got a great shape. It's kind of classic. People love this, and it would look really great distressed. So this is a really good candidate. All right, and mirror number 3. Is this a flip or a flop? Yeah, this one's a flop. It's got that cheesy brass frame. It's like a painted matte. It's just a rectangle. I mean, you can't do anything with this. I would not mess around with this one at all. Unless it was free and maybe sell it, for $5 or whatever. But for the most part, it's not worth your time. Moving on to mirror number 4. Is this wood frame a flip or a flop? Oh yeah, this one's a flip. It's kind of gaudy, it's a little out there, but this thing would sell awesome, especially if it was redone right, if you get it at the right price. It's got that huge wood top, tons of detailing, lots of trim work everywhere. I mean, this thing would look great with, bright gloss paint or even distressed rubber, so this one would sell really well. Right, now what do you think about mirror number 5, this sort of gold oval mirror? Yep, this one is a flipper. It's got that kind of gold mirror on the wall look, and you could either spray it a high gloss color, or you could even do kind of a more muted tone on top and then distress it and have some of that gold show through, and it'd definitely look very princess-like. This one would do really well. Now how about this rectangle mirror number 6? Is this a flip or a flop? Yeah, this one's a big old flop. These things do terrible. I've actually had several that come with some dressers that I bought to redo, and I've never been able to sell a single one. Sometimes you see them listed on Craigslist for like $5-10, and they are just not worth messing with. All right, moving on to mirror number 7. How about this one with the wood frame and the printed design on the mirror? Is this a flip or a flop? Yeah, again, this one's a big flop. It's got that ugly bland frame on there, and then that printed design is already just so dated. I wouldn't spend any time whatsoever trying to redo this one. It's just not worth it. So how about mirror number 8 with the stained glass details around the edge? Is this a flip or a flop? Nope, this one's a flop with that kind of cheesy stained glass frame, and you can't redo it. No one really wants this thing, but if I got it for free, I might try to sell it for $10 or something like that, but it's not worth redoing. How about mirror number 9 with that extra detailed carved white frame? Is it a flip or a flop? Oh yeah, it's a flip. With the extra detailed frame like that, people love that. And it looks really great when you distress it, and it has lots of glaze to show off all those details. It would do really well. So what do you think of mirror number 10 with that wood frame? Is this a flip or a flop? Yep, it's a flip. It has an extra gaudy carved frame, but people love that, especially when you do a distress job on it. It just highlights all those features, and for whatever reason, people really like that look. So now mirror number 11 has a big wood frame, and it come off of a dresser. Is this a flip or a flop? Yeah, I'd call this one a flop. I mean, it has that big gigantic frame that if you don't have any skills to do any woodworking, it's just not worth messing with it. But with that said, I actually would be tempted to try something like this, just to see if I could chop away a lot of the stuff off the side, just leave kind of a basic wood frame and do something real crazy with it. But for the most part, I would avoid this one. And finally, number 12. It's a big mirror with a wood frame, and it come off of a dresser. Is this a flip or a flop? Oh yeah, for sure. This one's a flip. It has that big kind of classic country look to it, real nice wood frame, and it's a really large size with lots of details. And as a matter of fact, I actually bought this mirror. So let me show it to you and give you a few details as to why this is a really good mirror to go for. Here's a close-up of that mirror. It has a solid oak frame that has like kind of a beveled edge, and then the mirror glass, if you can tell, it's actually beveled too. And then the top has that rounded edge there with some floral patterns on it, and it has some fluting and just a real classic kind of country look that's going to do really well. The problem is that it's kind of ugly right now. It's just kind of a standard oak color and needs to be redone. So this type of shape, this type of mirror does really well if you distress it with lots of paint. So let me show you that to you. I'll make it real grungy and old looking. So check this out. And this is what the mirror looks like after I finish distressing it and doing a patina paint job on it. It looks really cool and kind of old and grungy. So what I did was I did sort of a country blue meets seafoam green paint color. And then I sanded a lot of the edges and some of the details like the little floral piece there and the trim and all that type of thing, just to make it look kind of old and beat up like it's been around for a long, long time. Then what I did, you can kind of see in the 3 little fluted areas there and in the corners, I went over it with a teal colored glaze to kind of highlight it and give it more of a blue look than a green. And then when that dried, I did kind of a muddy brown colored glaze over the entire thing just to make it look old and grungy and kind of greasy and just gross and nasty. And people actually really like that look. They like the really beat up kind of calm country look. So that does really well on a mirror like this with that rounded top and details like that you can show off. So if you'd like to know how to do that, I actually made a video series that follows along as I was distressing this mirror, and it takes you from the beginning to end. It shows you everything, how I did it. It's really easy to do. It doesn't take long at all. A couple hours. You can buy one of these mirrors in a day and have it up, selling again by the next day. So it's really easy to do, and they sell really well. So again, if you'd like to check that out, I'll put a link at the end of this video, and I'll even put it in the description where you can go check it out. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna have a bunch of cool videos like this showing you how to do all kinds of different projects that I like to do, and just give you some cool details on that. So thanks a lot for checking this out, and I hope it helped you out and gave you some really cool ideas.